اللي دخلت دلوقتي عواطف ولا أميرة؟
Hi.
Welcome, Hamida.
Hi. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you tonight?
Good. Thank you. Thank you so much. Hi, Madam Viola.
مساء الخير، ازيك؟
No, زي
اوكي. مين دخل بالايفون؟ احنا قلنا مين اللي دخل دلوقتي بالايفون؟ عواطف؟ شغال الصوت يا عواطف عشان بس نكتب الاسامي نبقى عارفينها.
Okay, well, if you will let people in, I will start with the quiz, Viola, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, let's start tonight and see how well you remember what we did last week. And those of you who weren't with us last week, these are questions that are in the papers that you've already had. So I will ask these not in any specific order, so I'll just go through and ask different questions. So who is the commander-in-chief of the military?
The president.
The president, very good.
Hello, hello, Mr. Mike. Hello, Madam Viola. Hello, everybody.
Hello, welcome.
احنا ابتدينا بنسأل في الأسئلة اللي خدناها المرة اللي فاتت.
Okay.
And let's see, if both the president and the vice president can no longer serve, who becomes the president?
The Speaker of the House.
The Secretary of State, that's correct. That's right, very good, Shaza, very good. What is the highest court in the United States?
Supreme Court.
Supreme Court.
Supreme Court, yes, very good, very good. And do you know the name of the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court?
John Robert. John Robert.
Very good. Some of you, your memories are going very good today. What are the two major political parties in the U.S.?
Democrat and Republican.
And Republican.
Yes, very good. Democrat and Republican. We have many more, but those are the two main ones. And do you know the governor of your state?
No. I don't.
Whitmer in Michigan.
Okay, in California, it's Gavin Newsom. He's the governor now. Uh-huh. And in Michigan,
Whitmer.
yes.
California, Gavin Newsom, why?
Governor Newsom, yes.
Please, can you write his name, please? Can you write his name in the chat?
Sure, okay. I will.
Thank you.
مدام فيولا معلش، هو ده سؤال رقم كام؟
العشوائي.
Okay.
عشوائي؟
هقول لك اسمه ايه دلوقتي.
Here's the name of the governor in California, Gavin Newsom.
سؤال رقم 43 يا أميرة. Who is the governor of California of your state?
Okay. Gavin Newsom, yeah?
Gavin Newsom for California, yes.
Thank you very much.
You are welcome.
Thank you.
مين عنده أطفال عاملة زيطة كده؟ اللي عنده أطفال يبقى يعمل ميوت، معلش.
Okay, and let's see. Another question. What is the capital of your state?
Sacramento.
Sacramento.
Lansing.
Lansing, very good. Yes, we have a Michigander, so you have to hear different answers. Yes, so Lansing and Sacramento, very good. And let's see. What does the judicial branch do?
Review the law.
Reviews laws, correct.
Explain law.
Explains the laws, very good. They also resolve disagreements, or if there's disputes, if there's an argument over whether a law is proper or improper, they're the ones who settle that.
Yes, excuse me. In this questions, we must say the three answers or just
No.
one?
No, there are the Supreme Court does all of these things, and you just will need to give one answer.
One. Okay. One.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So reviews the laws, explains the laws. If that's the easiest to remember, then that's what you would
Yes.
say.
Okay.
And the one thing that you have seen mostly in the news that they do is they decide whether a law fits the Constitution, or if it's against the Constitution or with the Constitution.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see. Can you name 2 cabinet level positions?
Yes.
Secretary of Agriculture.
The Senate.
Secretary of Agriculture.
Yes, Secretary Agriculture,
Education.
Of Commerce.
Secretary of State,
Secretary of State, yes,
Vice President,
Homeland.
The Vice President, yes.
President, yeah.
Secretary of Energy,
Yes, very good, of Energy,
Treasury.
Of Labor. Labor.
Okay, in fact, I will go down and I will read the list so you hear them pronounced, okay? So that if there's one of them you're wondering how to pronounce, there's the Secretary of Agriculture, Secretary of Commerce, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of Education, Secretary of Energy, Secretary of Health and Human Services, Secretary of Homeland Security, Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Secretary of Interior, Secretary of Labor, Secretary of State, Secretary of Transportation, Secretary of the Treasury, Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Attorney General, and Vice President. So that's how you pronounce all of those with English. Okay, another question. Under the Constitution, some powers belong to the federal government. What is one power of the federal government? You have to name one. There are 4 chances or 4 options that are given to you. You just have to name one.
Print money.
Yes, that's the one that's the best to remember. Only the federal government can print money. Yeah. So one of the other ones is to declare war.
Declaring the war.
Yes.
The war.
To declare war, yes. And to make treaties at the end of a war is another thing they can do. And then they also are the ones who create the army. Okay, let's see. One more question. This is an easy one. What is the political party of the president now?
Democratic.
Democratic.
Yes, very good.
Good.
You were quick on that answer. Very quick on that answer. Okay, we have a lot of ground to cover, a lot of things to go over today. So I'm going to start. I'm going to share the screen. Yola, you stop me if I go too fast, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just for to Afghanis because he joined with us last week.
Okay,
Sending him to remind him again.
okay.
Okay. That's it. Okay. I'm ready now.
Okay. We're going to start with question 50. We've already gone through 49 of the 100 questions. So we're starting with question 50 tonight. And the first one is, you have to name one of these. Name one right for only U.S. citizens. In other words, until you are a citizen, you do not possess this right. When you become a citizen, you can do these things, but just living in the country does not give you the right. You have to be a citizen. And the 2 answers to choose from are vote in a federal election and run for a federal office.
في حاجتين أساسيين ممكن من حقوق اللي واخد الجنسية الأمريكية اللي هو السيتيزن. مش على إنك تكون موجود في البلد تقدر تنتخب، لكن لازم تكون معاك الجنسية. يعني إحنا معانا الجرين ما ينفعش إن إحنا نروح ننتخب. فالفيدرال إليكشن اللي هي الانتخابات بتبقى من حق الناس اللي هي معاها السيتيزن. الحاجة التانية برضو اختيار الفيدرال أوفيس.
Okay, now because it is it's an important thing for you guys.
Excuse me, the word run for, what does that mean exactly?
That means you can be part of the election. Your name can be on the ballot for people to choose your name. Running for office is the way we use, that's the phrase we use for someone who is trying to get elected.
يعني انت بمعنى اصح اللي عايزه اوضحها لك انك انت ممكن تنتخبي انت نفسك، ترشحي نفسك للانتخابات.
run for that's mean no I can't انا انتخاب.
يعني انت كمان تترشحي للانتخابات.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Now, the other thing to understand is there are years of being a citizenship before you can run for offices, before you can be a candidate for an office. You have to be a citizen for at least 9 years if you want to be a senator, and you have to be a citizen for at least 7 years if you want to be a member of the House of Representatives.
دي معلومات زيادة هو مديها لك، انك انت لازم تكوني واخدة جنسية امريكية لمدة 9 سنين عشان تترشحي انك تبقي سيناتور، وبرضو 7 سنين يكوني واخدة جنسية لمدة 7 سنين علشان تترشحي للبريزيدنت اوف يونايتد ستيت، ولا دي الريبريزنتيف اعتقد. 7 years to run for president.
No, 7 years for House of Representatives.
Yes, I know that. لا يبقى 7 سنين للهاوس اوف ريبريزنتيف و9 سنين للسيناتور.
Yeah, 9 years for senator, 7 for House of Representatives, and you have to be born in the U.S. to run for president.
Yeah. أما بالنسبة إنك أنت تترشحي كرئيس لأمريكا لازم تكوني مولودة في أمريكا.
Okay, now those who are living in the U.S. have rights also. So anyone who is living in the United States has these rights, and you have to name 2 of them. You don't have to be a citizen for these rights. You just have to be living, have a permanent residence in the U.S. And those that everybody has are freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom to petition the government, freedom of religion, and the right to bear arms. So everybody living in the U.S. who has permanent residence has these rights. That's not just a citizen, it's anybody.
أما لو أنت عايش في أمريكا وحتى لو ما كانش معاكي جنسية، عندك الحقوق ديت اللي هي حرية زي الصحافة أو حرية السبيتش اللي هي الكلام يعني،
تعبير.
دي الحريات اللي هي كل واحد، حرية الديانة، اختيار الديانة، حرية انك انت تحمل سلاح right to bear arms اللي هي حرية حمل السلاح. دي من حقوق الناس اللي هي عايشة في أمريكا، مقيمة في أمريكا.
We are one of the only countries where someone can be born in another country, come to this country, live here, not be a citizen, and complain about the government. Many countries, if you don't live there, or if you live there but you were not born there and you complain, they will send you back to the country you come from. In the US, you have the right to speak against anything you want to speak against if you live in the US. So it's a freedom that's not found everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, the next question. What do we show our loyalty to when we say the Pledge of Allegiance? Now, in your countries, I know some of you have pledges or statements that are made to the government as a way to demonstrate your allegiance or your loyalty to the government on a regular basis. We have a Pledge of Allegiance that is to the United States and to the flag. School children make the statement in many schools on a daily basis. They say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. And you have to know one of these answers. What do we show loyalty to when we say the Pledge of Allegiance? The United States and the flag. In fact, I don't know if you've heard it before, but it's written here. And every school child learns this. Your children will learn it in school. And it's something you memorize because you know it from when you were very little. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's the actual pledge. And it has been in existence since the 1800s. And it's written right there in the question. So you have a copy of it.
اللي هي تعهد بالولاء لإيه؟ للعلم وللولايات المتحدة الأمريكية. لما بتقولي القسم بتقولي التعهد بتاعك أو القسم بتاعك بولائك للعلم وللولايات المتحدة الأمريكية.
يعني نقول اثنين.
لا هو التعهد بيكون شامل الاثنين يا عفيف.
بس يعني وقت بده يسألنا نقول the United States and the flag.
Yes, those are the two answers. You just have to know one of them.
ممكن تقولي واحدة منهم يا عفيف.
Okay.
Okay. All right, the next question, when you become a citizen or you promise, or when you become a citizen, you make promises. And here is a list of the promises that you are asked to make. Yola, you may want to let them know that we say an oath when we become a citizen. Those who are born here don't have to say that, but those that come from another country, because it is a declaration that you are now going to be a citizen of this country. And so the oath is something that everybody, they raise their hand after they have qualified for citizenship, and they say their oath, and they say it in a room with everybody who is qualifying for citizenship at the same time, at least before COVID, that's how they did it. So everyone states an oath, and the things that are in the oath are what's listed here.
Yeah. هو بيتكلم دلوقتي عن القسم، انك انت لما تيجي تاخدي الجنسية بعد الأسئلة والحاجات دي لازم هترددي وراهم القسم. فالقسم دوت هو عبارة عن انك انت بتعلني ولائك للولايات المتحدة الأمريكية.
You have to remember one of these promises, and I'll go through them. You have to promise to give up your loyalty to other countries. You have to promise to obey the laws of the United States. You have to promise to defend the Constitution and the laws, so defend those things. You have to promise to serve in the military if needed and if you're of age. And you have to promise to serve or do important work within the nation. And you have to promise to be loyal to the US. So you just have to remember one of those. They're all in the oath, and the oath is on the paper right here. Right halfway down, it says, let me find it here. Here's where the oath begins. I hereby declare on oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereign of whom or which I have heretofore been the subject or citizen, that I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by the law, that I will perform non-combatant service in the armed services of the United States when required by law, that I will perform and work of national importance under civilian direction when required by law, and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, so help me God. So that's what it sounds like. You don't have to remember all of that. You just have to remember one of the things that promise makes.
Yeah. Please.
What does it mean about number one, give up loyalty to other countries, even my country?
Yeah, it says that if, for example, if there was a war or a conflict or anything like that, once you're a U.S. citizen, you would be expected to defend the U.S., not the country you come from.
Yes, yes. أصل number one بتقول إن give up loyalty to other countries، يعني إنك أنت بتتخلي عن أي country تانية، يعني ولائك لأي دولة تانية. فهو شرحها قال لو الدولة دي في بينها وبين أمريكا حرب، لازم أنت تكوني ما دام خدتي اليو اس citizen تكون ولائك ليو اس.
Okay, any questions on any of the rest of those items?
No. Is the law of the United States ضروري نقول هدوليك هن يعملوا لك واحد. Apply the law of the United States.
Obey the law.
Obey the law of the United States. Obey the Constitution.
And if that's the one you choose to remember, that may be the easiest one to remember.
Yes.
Yes.
سألك عن واحدة بس هي دي أحلى واحدة أسهل واحدة عارفاها.
اللي هي obey.
Obey
Obey.
Obey the laws.
Yeah, obey.
Okay, let's go to the next question. Question 54. How old do you have to be to vote for president? 18.
In and all order.
It used to be, when I was younger, it used to be 21, but they changed that in 1971. And now you can be 18 years old and vote for president. And that's just a simple answer. One answer, just have to remember the number 18. And I think all of you are older than 18, so you would all qualify.
But no limit. No limit?
No limit, no age, no ceiling. You can be 99 and still vote. It's just you have to be older than 18.
Or 100.
Yeah, or 100, 120. Yeah.
If he can't go to vote.
Yeah, you have to be able to use the pen and vote. So if you can't lift that, you won't be able to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, what are two ways that Americans can participate or be a part of or join in and help with their democracy? And there's a large list here. You only have to remember two of them. And I will read through them so that you hear them. Voting is one of those. So vote, to join a political party, to help with somebody who is in a campaign to be elected, to join a civic group that helps the community, group, to join a community group, to give an elected official your opinion on an issue. In other words, to write in and say, I think they need to put speed bumps on the street because it's too dangerous. To do that is participating in the democracy. To call your senators or your representatives to make a statement or let them know your feelings on something is a way to participate. And to publicly support or oppose an issue or a policy. To run for office, there's that term run again. It doesn't mean you're going to be running. It just means you're going to be making your name on a ballot so people can vote for you, or to write to a newspaper, to express your opinion in a newspaper. All of those are ways to participate in the democracy.
Yeah.
Those make sense?
فاهمينهم؟
Easy.
ايه الحاجات اللي بتظهر الديمقراطية يعني؟ انك انت بتنتخبي voting دي اهم واحدة. join political party يعني ممكن تكوني تنضمي لأي حزب من الحزب السياسي. join civic group ممكن تكوني منضمة لمجموعات مدنية. join community group مجتمعات اجتماعية يعني حاجات ليها معاملات اجتماعية يعني مجموعات. give elect official your opinion تقولي رأيك رسمي في الانتخابات.
فيك تحكي مع السيناتور
او الهاوس ريبريزنتيف. ممكن تكتبي في نيوز بيبر.
تصويت والنيوز بيبر. رايت في النيوز بيبر.
يعني تعبري عن رأيك بحرية. Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
All right. Number 56. When is the last day that you can send in your federal income tax form? People who earn money, when they are working in the US, are earning money here, need to pay income tax. The reason that taxes are paid is that's how we support or fund the government. And the information about that is written in here. And April 15th is that date, unless the government says we have moved the date. So almost always, for maybe 2 times in my entire life, have they moved the dates. All the rest of the time, it's April 15th, April 15th, April 15th.
Last year moved because of
That's
Corona.
exactly right. They moved it 1 month.
Yeah.
So that's a very easy answer. So we'll move on to the next one. When must all men register for the selective service? Everyone who is 18 years of age and up to 26 years of age needs to register they need to register in case there is a need for them in a war or in a conflict. And that means you go down, you sign your name, they know your address, and then in some cases they will have you go through a physical to make sure that your health is good. And that's all part of registering.
ده مقصود بيها يا جماعة التجنيد أو الخدمة العسكرية. تبدأ من سن 18 سنة لغاية سن 26 سنة. في وقت من 18 لغاية 26 لازم تروح تعمل ريجستريشن، يكتب اسمه وعنوانه وازاي التواصل معاه.
لازم يسجل بالخدمة من سن 18 لسن 26.
Okay. So it's a very easy answer. It's between 18 and 26 is the only ages you need to remember there. Okay, now we're going to go into some history.
What is
the United States history when it comes to your test for citizenship? They break it up into or they divide it into certain categories. The colonial period, which is before we became a nation. Then there is the early years of the nation, which is the 1800s. And then there's the 1900s. And then there's the modern time, which is in the 2000s. So we will go through history and go through each segment of that as we talk through it. And we will start with the colonial period, which is before we were actually a country. We were colonies at that time. And I will put up different pictures so you can see what the colonies look like and all of that. And it says, what is one of the reasons that people came to America in the first place? Why did they come here? They came here for many reasons, but these are ones, you don't have to name one of them. These are ones you can choose from. They came for freedom, just freedom, very simply. They came for political liberty. They came for religious freedom. They came because they figured it was economically better for them, so economic opportunity. They came so they could practice their religion the way they wanted to, and they came because they were persecuted where they originally lived. So you have to remember one of those, and that's why people, and it's the same reasons people come here today. They come here for freedoms. Go ahead, Viola.
هو دلوقتي هيتكلم عن تاريخ أمريكا. الناس اللي هي جت من أوروبا هربانة، اللي جت واستوطنت في أمريكا كبداية، كانت جاية هربانة من بعض حاجات، أو جاية ليه؟ إيه الأسباب اللي هي جت علشانها؟ نمرة واحد الفريدم اللي هي الحرية، political liberty اللي برضو حرية سياسية، religious freedom اللي هي حرية دينية، economic opportunity كانت هنا علشان الاقتصاد بتاع البلد اللي هو كان فيها مش كويس فجاية هنا عشان الاقتصاد يكون أفضل، practice their religion عشان تمارس الديانة بتاعتها بحرية، escape persecution اللي هي كان هروب من ان هم يتقبض عليهم او اضطهادات معينة يعني.
Okay, I'm going to show you a map now of the different places that people came from to come to the US in the very beginning.
هيورينا خريطة دلوقتي للناس اللي هي بداية أمريكا، جم في إيه المناطق اللي هم جم فيها.
Can you see this map okay?
Yes.
Okay. You see the blue in the middle? Those are people who came from France to create colonies. The purple are people who came from Great Britain and France. The orange down here are from Spain, and these are from England. So many countries came to settle in the United States when we were colonies, and the years are on here. You can see what years they came, but they came before we were a country to settle in different places within the country.
قبل ما تتكون نفسها أمريكا. اللي بالأزرق ده دول جم من فرنسا. البيربل ده جريت بريتن. البيربل الغامق دوت من جريت بريتن وفرنسا، اللي هو احنا بنقول عليه الموف الغامق ده. وفي اللي هو سبين اللي هو تحت ده اللي هو شاور عليه من تحت.
ظهر الفاتح.
تحت سبين. سبين.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's just a map to give you sort of an idea of it, because we're going to talk about the colonies in just a little bit. When they all arrived, there were people that we call Native Americans. Another name for them are Indians. They're not from the country India. They are from the US, and they have all sorts of unique names. And you will have to know at least a couple of these names when it comes time to take your test, but you don't have to know them for this question. You just need to know who was in the US when all of the Europeans arrived to become colonies. And the answer is either American Indians or Native American. That means the same thing.
في سؤال بيقول لك لما الناس دي جت اللي هي جت هربانه من اوروبا واستوطنت، كان في مين موجود في امريكا في الوقت دوت؟ يا اما ناس في امريكا الامريكان الاصليين او امريكان انديانز. هم اسمهم امريكان انديانز اللي هم الهنود الحمر، بس دول مش مقصود بيهم الهند. لا هم اسمهم بس كده امريكان انديانز.
And the Europeans, when they arrived, learned many things from the Native Americans because they were used to being in this land. And when they were in this land, they knew what crops would grow, what things would work, what things would not work. The Europeans brought some things with them, but they also learned a lot to survive in the country from the people who were here before them.
هو قال في الأول إن في ترايب اللي هي أعراق اللي هي بتاعت الأمريكان الأصليين أو القبائل، المفروض نحفظ منهم واحدة أو اتنين. هم أساميهم صعبة شوية بس هنحفظ منهم واحدة أو اتنين. وعايز يقول كمان إن لما جم الأوروبيين اتعلموا من الناتيف أمريكان دي بعض الحاجات، يعني إيه الحاجات اللي هي بتنفع تتزرع، إيه الحاجات اللي هي تنفع كتجارة، يعني اتعلموا منهم حاجات إيه اللي ممكن يصلح وإيه اللي ممكن لا.
Okay, now when the colonies or when the Europeans came and they were established here, many of them started to bring slaves, and the slaves came from mostly one place, not always, but mostly one place. And the group that they came from the most was from Africa. So the question number 60 is, what group of people was taken to America and sold as slaves? The answer is Africans or people from Africa. Both answers are acceptable. They mean the same thing. More slaves came from Africa than any place else.
لما جم الأوروبيين جابوا عبيد أو اشتروا عبيد. العبيد دول كانوا منين؟ from Africa. People from Africa أو Africans اللي هم slaves مقصود بها إيه؟ اللي هي العبيد.
Slavery had gone on in Africa among the other Africans for many years before they were brought over here. And the Africans realized if they were to defeat another tribe, they could sell them and the Europeans would buy them and bring them over here and sell them. It wasn't something that we were proud of. It's not a very nice part of our history, but it's what happened and we can't deny it.
بيقول دي حاجة مش كويسة في تاريخنا لكن ما نقدرش نلغيها، لكن ده هو اللي حصل. إن هم كانوا الناس الأعراق اللي هم الأساسيين دول بيجيبوا الأفريكان وبيبيعوهم للكولونيز.
One of the things that this led to was a thing that we'll study a little bit more, not this week, but next, is the Civil War. Over 500,000 people, 500,000 people gave their lives in the struggle to end slavery.
وفي حاجة هندرسها برضو بس أنا مش عارفة هي في السؤال ده ولا لسه، إن في ناس ضحت بسبب اللي هي تحرير العبيد. يمكن 500,000 واحد ماتوا بسبب الموضوع دوت. ودي كانت في الحرب الأهلية اللي حصلت اللي هي السيفل وور، ودي كانت خاصة يعني كان سببها وهدفها الأساسي اللي هي تحرير العبيد.
Okay, when the U.S. had many colonies, they all got together, and most of them on the East Coast were ruled by Great Britain. And Great Britain was not treating the colonies well. So the colonies decided, we are not being treated well, so we are going to become independent. And here are the reasons that they fought against the British. Because of high taxes, they weren't given a voice in what taxes they were going to have. Because the British Army were taking their homes, their houses, and putting soldiers in them. And because we weren't allowed, the colonies were not allowed to have their own government because England or Great Britain was ruling them. So all of those are reasons that the colonies fought Great Britain for their independence.
الكولونيز حاربوا بريطانيا لأنهم هم كانوا تحت سيطرة بريطانيا. وسبب الحرب ايه اللي قامت ان هم كانوا بيحاربوا بريطانيا؟ لان بريطانيا كانت بتفرض عليهم هاي تاكسي. الجيش البريطاني كان بياخد البيوت بتاعتهم، ممكن يستولي على البيوت بتاعتهم، كانت معامله مش كويسه يعني. وما كانش عندهم سيلف جوفرنمنت، يعني ما كانش عندهم حكم ذاتي، كانت بريطانيا اللي مسيطره عليهم، فعشان كده هم حاربوا الجريت بريطانيا.
When people feel as though they are disrespected, where the people who are in government above them do not respect them anymore, the people do not like that. And so they rebel. And that's exactly what happened with the colonies. And they declared their independence by a document that they wrote. In fact, I'm going to show you the document here. It's called the Declaration of Independence. And this document was signed by many people at the bottom. And when they declared their independence, every signature on here, everyone was an outlaw to the British government. Their homes, their families, and they, as people, were threatened by the British government. So when they signed this document and said, we want to be free from Britain, what they were doing was also putting themselves in great danger to do that. And here is the main principle that they held to, and I highlighted it. I know it's hard to see because it's very small. It says, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and are endowed with fundamental rights, not the least of which is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Those are very important words to our beginning, because we believed we did not have the respect from Great Britain. And in these areas, we felt God gave man the right to be free. So I know that's a lot, Viola, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay, no problem. هو عايز يقول ان لما الحكومة او بريطانيا لما كانت مسيطرة عليهم ما كانتش بتحترم الناس، فالناس ابتدت تعلن يعني مش عاجبها طبعا التصرف دوت، وابتدوا يحاربوا في بريطانيا واعلنوا الاستقلال. وكتبوا من ضمن الحاجات الاساسيه في الاستقلال ان احنا كلنا يعني خليقه ربنا، وان احنا كلنا من حقنا الحريه، وان احنا يكون عندنا حريه راي وحريه ولايف والحريه في معيشتنا، وان احنا كمان نمارس السعاده، يعني نبقى مبسوطين، يعني ما يبقاش في حد مسيطر علينا وضغط علينا طول الوقت بطريقه مش محترمه او مش بيحترمنا كاشخاص كهيومن بين.
And the document was written by mostly one man, and his name was Thomas Jefferson, and that's the next question. Whoops.
هو كمان عايز يقول هنا ان الناس ديت لما كتبت القرار بتاع الاستقلال دوت من بريطانيا، ماضيين في الورقه دي اللي هو وراها لنا كده تحت، كل واحد كاتب السيجنتشر، كاتب اسمه، ماضي باسمه. ده كانت حاجه صعبه جدا جدا، ان هو كان حاطط نفسه على حد يعني ان هو ممكن يموت في اي وقت قوي، لانه مش بيحارب حاجه وبس، يعني ده بيكتب حاجه ضد بريطانيا. فبيقول هم الناس دول ضحوا بنفسهم وكانوا بيمضوا وهم عارفين مدى خطوره اللي هم بيمضوا عليه، لكن هم كانوا بيعملوا كده مطالبه بالحريه. فيجي السؤال اللي بعد كده، مين هو اللي كان قائد الموضوع دوت يعني، او اللي اعلن الاستقلال؟ توماس جيفرسون.
Yes, and Thomas Jefferson was the third president of the United States, and he's the one that mostly wrote the Declaration of Independence. and the declaration was agreed to by the other colonies on July 4th, 1776, which is why we celebrate that as our Independence Day. And we just had that holiday a week ago. And that's where there's fireworks and there's parties and eating and food. We remember that these people put their lives on the line, and we celebrate the fact that we declared our independence. There still was a war that had to be fought. That was the Revolutionary War. But before the war was fought, they declared, Britain, we no longer want to be ruled by you. And Thomas Jefferson wrote that, and the day we celebrate that they agreed on it was July 4th, 1776.
توماس جيفرسون هو اللي كتب إعلان الاستقلال، وتم إعلانه رسمي يوم جولاي 4 1776. وعلشان كده احنا بنحتفل زي ما احتفلوا الاسبوع اللي فات، والفاير وورك كان شغال، والهيصه اللي كانت شغاله، اللي هو ده يوم اعلان الاستقلال بتاع امريكا من جريت بريتن، اللي هو 4 اوف جولاي اللي بيحتفلوا بيه دايما، وده عيد رسمي
عيد الاستقلال،
اللي هو عيد الاستقلال او التحرير.
Okay, any questions on any of that?
في حد عنده سؤال؟
لا.
Oh, thank you. No,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, when the colonies voted on the Declaration of Independence that they agreed with it, there were 13 of them. 12 of them immediately agreed to it. One of them did not agree until a little bit later, and you will need to know you'll need to know at least the names of 3 of the colonies. I'm going to put a larger map on it so that you can see. These were the colonies, the ones in the this color here. These are all the colonies that were part of voting on the Declaration of Independence. And I will list their names, but I wanted you to see where they were. And these are the abbreviations for their names, but on the other paper, it says their names. So this is where they are on the East Coast. And if we look at the paper here, let me get it here. Here are the names. And I know that Viola does a very good job of remembering the word new. So it's easy to remember which ones they are. So here, I will read the names so you have them. New Hampshire, Delaware, Massachusetts, which is not an easy one I know for you to say, Maryland, Rhode Island, Virginia, Connecticut, North Carolina, New York, South Carolina, New Jersey, Georgia, and Pennsylvania. And let me read them one more time for you, okay? And then I'm going to have you guys say them. New Hampshire, Delaware, Massachusetts, Maryland, Rhode Island, Virginia, Connecticut, North Carolina, New York, South Carolina, New Jersey, Georgia, and Pennsylvania. Okay, so now let's all try that together. See if you can pronounce them, because you have to remember 3 of them. And I want you to be able to say them accurately.
New Hampshire, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, 3. Easy.
FF picked her 3. Okay, let's start at the beginning and let's say them all together. New Hampshire, Delaware, Massachusetts, Maryland, Rhode Island, Virginia, Connecticut, North Carolina, New York, South Carolina, New Jersey, Georgia, and Pennsylvania. Okay, so those were the 13 colonies in the beginning, and they were the ones that voted to sign the Declaration of Independence and accept it, so that we declared our independence from England. Okay.
ال 13 اللي قراهم دول اللي هم الكولونيز لما جم من اوروبا واستقروا في الولايات اللي هي من ناحيه الايست كوست، والولايات اللي هو قراهم دلوقتي ال 13 ولايه دي هم اللي استقروا فيها الكولونيز. فهو بيقراها لكم على عشان يسألكم في 3 منهم، هيطلب منكم 3 كولونيز أو 3 ولايات من الإيست كوست اللي هم الأوريجينال. هو دي ولاية أمريكا.
الولايات الأصلية تبعوت أمريكا هدول.
أنا حافظاهم، هو بيقول فيولا بتقول نيو. أنا حافظاهم ب3 نيو. نيو جيرسي، نيو هامشير.
New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York.
نيو هامشير، نيو جيرسي، نيويورك. نيو.
Okay, question number 65. When we declared our independence, Great Britain went to war with the colonies, and we call that our Revolutionary War. The colonies created a group from each of the states, from each of the colonies. They created a group and they called that the Constitutional Convention, because they were going to prepare and put together a document that said how this new country needed to be run. And when they did that, they got together in Philadelphia, and they started making plans for what this new country would be like. And the gathering that when they got together was called the Constitutional Convention. The question is, what happened at the Constitutional Convention? And the answer is the Constitution was written, or the Founding Fathers wrote the Constitution. Both of those are the same answer. You can say it either way.
لما أعلنوا الاستقلال طبعا بريطانيا حبت تعمل حرب معاهم، فهم اجتمعوا، عملوا اجتماع كتبوا فيه الكونستيتيوشن اللي هو الدستور، احنا هنعمل ايه يعني، ايه القانون اللي هيحكمنا. فعملوا الدستور اللي هو constitution was written او founding fathers wrote the constitution، اللي هم سموا الكولونيز اللي هم القدام دول اللي هم الاساسيين founding fathers كتبوا الدستور. السؤال بيقول what happened at the Constitution Convention هنقول constitution was written.
Very good. And each state or each colony had representatives at the convention. So everybody, because one of their complaints was they didn't have representation. So now every colony was represented, which was very important to them, because Great Britain did not give them the voice that they had wanted. And when was the Constitution written is the next question, question 66. And the answer is 1787.
1787. متى تم كتابة الدستور؟
11 سنة بينه وبين إعلان الاستقلال.
The other thing to know, because you may be asked who wrote the Constitution, and the correct answer is the whole Constitutional Convention, but one man was responsible for writing most of it, and his name was James Madison. And there isn't a question specifically about James Madison, but he is a name that you will hear more and more when you talk about our history, because he was a brilliant man and he was responsible for writing much of the Constitution.
هم صح اجتمعوا ال 13 كولونيز وكتبوا الدستور، لكن أكتر واحد كتب أكبر أجزاء فيه جيمس ماديسون.
And the Constitution, and again, we'll talk about this a little bit more, when it was written, the founding fathers knew it needed to be a document that would change as the country changed. And so, as we've talked in the past, amendments are the changes that we are allowed to make to the Constitution as it changes with the country. So in this little paragraph here, it mentions that there have been 27 amendments, or 27 times it's changed. Now, if you realize that the country's been around for 250 years, 27 changes isn't that much. So they wrote a very good document to begin with.
زي ما اتكلمنا قبل كده تقريبا في السؤال اللي مش عارفه الرابع او الخامس حاجه زي كده، ان what is the amendment means اللي هي change في الكونستيتيوشن او اضافه، اي اضافه في الدستور او اي تغيير في الدستور بنسميه amendment. اللي هي ملحقات يعني. ودول عددهم كام؟ 27 اللي هي عداها هو بس طلع لفوق شويه. ف 27 مره حصل تغيير في الدستور اللي هي الاضافات اللي تمت.
Many things influenced or had an effect on the Constitution being approved by all of the colonies. One of the writings that was very important in it being approved were a gathering of writings called the Federalist Papers. And the next question is, the Federalist Papers supported the passage of the US Constitution. You have to name one of the writers. And here's James Madison's again name. James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, John Jay, and Publius. And I'll explain Publius in just a minute. But James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, John Jay, and Publius, you have to name one of those names to get the answer correct for number 67.
مين اللي كتب الدستور؟ جمع الورق بتاعه جيمس ميدسون، ده اكبر قدر اتكتب، لكن في برضه الكسندر هامilton وجون جي بيبيلوس. Yes.
Now, go ahead.
اوكي، وهو هيتكلم دلوقتي عن بيبيلوس، عن حاجه مميزه ليه.
Publius is a pretend name. It is a fake name. It is a what they call in French they said nom de plume. It is a writing name. It is not the real name of a person. And the writers felt they needed the opinion to be coming from somebody else, and so they hid who was really writing it, and they put the name on the bottom of it, Publius. But the actual authors who used that name were James Madison and sometimes John Jay and Alexander Hamilton. So they would put in the newspapers a statement that said you should vote for this Constitution because it's important and it's well written and it's good, and they would sign the name Publius. Because since James Madison was writing it, if James Madison says it's good, then of course he's going to say it's good because he wrote it. But if somebody named Publius says it's good, then maybe there's another voice. So that's why there was another name. Does that make sense?
But that means there is no Populus, it's just a name?
That's exactly right. There is no person named Publius, nor is there one person who used that alone. All three of them used that name.
Yeah. Populus ده ما كانش واحد، ما كانش شخص. ده هم استخدموا الاسم دوت بس ان هو يتحط بيه.
اكثر من شخص كانوا يعني.
لكن هم الثلاثة الاساسيين هم جيمس ميدسون.
والكسندر وجون
جي.
So you just have to name one of the writers, and it's probably easiest to remember James Madison or Alexander Hamilton. And there was a musical just in the last couple of years called Hamilton. It was in Broadway in New York. It was about Alexander Hamilton.
في موسيقى شهيرة بتاع في نيويورك هامilton دي كانت مقصود بها هو ألكسندر هامilton.
Okay, number 68. We're almost done. Just two more. What is one thing? Oh, Benjamin Franklin, first off. Benjamin Franklin was an old man when the colonies wrote the Declaration of Independence. He was the senior citizen, and as an old man, he was looked to have much wisdom. And so he was very instrumental in the formation of our country, the beginning of our country. He was the oldest member of the Constitutional Convention. And the question on number 68 is, what is one thing that Benjamin Franklin is famous for? He's famous for being old, but he's famous for being the oldest member of the Constitution. And he also was a diplomat. He was the first postmaster general, meaning the first post office manager. And he also was an author. He wrote a thing called Poor Richard's Almanac.
The first free library.
And very good, you remembered. And he started public libraries, which meant you could go and you could borrow a book. You didn't have to own the book.
Yeah. بنجامين فرانكلين ده كان أقدم واحد في اللي كتبوا الدستور. كان راجل عجوز وكان حكيم وعمل حاجات كتيرة قوي يعني. فلو حتى سأل، لو كان في سؤال أو هو في سؤال اللي هو 68 عن قول حاجة واحدة من اللي عملها بنجامين فرانكلين فيمس مشهور بيها يعني. كان يو اس دبلومات، كان سياسي قديم يعني. كان اولدست ممبر، كان هو اكبر واحد موجود عجوز يعني. فيرست بوست ستار، هو اللي عمل البوسطه اللي هي البريد يعني بتاع اليو اس جنرال. فيرست بوست ماستر جنرال اوف ذا يونايتد ستيت. رايتر، كان كاتب وكتب كتاب اللي هو البور ريتشارد ألمنز.
Almanac.
Almanac.
Yes.
Almanac.
ده اسم كتاب كتبه. وكان كمان هو أول واحد عمل حكاية اللايبراري فري، المكتبات العامة اللي هي الفري.
Yeah, Poor Richard's Almanac was a book that had a lot of wise sayings in it. And it was a book that also had information about planting and the stars and when the solar eclipse was going to be. It had all sorts of little information like that. And so he pulled all of it together and put it. It was a very famous book during his life.
هو في الكتاب ده جمع معلومات قيمة جدا جدا عن الزراعة، عن النجوم، عن حاجات كتيرة كده. هو كان جمعها وحطهم في الكتاب دوت، والكتاب ده مشهور جدا جدا.
And you just have to remember one of the things that he was famous for.
انتوا المفروض تحفظوا واحدة بس من الحاجات اللي هو مشهور بيها.
Okay. And these next two questions are very easy. You probably all know the answer already. Who was the father of our country? George Washington. And who was the first president? George Washington.
That's it.
And I think that that is a lot of information for tonight.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. So are there any questions on any of the information tonight? I believe Madam Viola has all of the documents that I've shown you so that you can have those. And I will again save the recording from tonight so that if you know someone who missed it, all you have to do is request, or Madam Viola will put it out on the WhatsApp, but you will be able to review this if you would like to before we get together next week.
كل الدوكيومنت دي هنبعتها لكم، وفي نفس الوقت انا ببعت لكم كل اسبوع التسجيل الريكوردرينج. وكل واذا كنتوا تعرفوا حد يعني من اللي ما حضرش النهارده ممكن تبعتوه له. انا كده ولا كده بحطه على الواتساب لكل الجروب. وبيقول يا ريت بتسمعوه كويس قبل ما نتقابل الاسبوع الجاي ان شاء الله.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you are very welcome. God bless you all. Okay.
God bless
We will see you next week. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. منين أخذنا من 50 اليوم؟